Hello everyone and welcome back to the Clangen Dog Pack Challenge. If this is your first time joining us, hello, I'm glad you're here. You may be a little bit confused about what's going on in this video since it's part 8 of a series, but if you don't want to watch the whole series, you'll probably be okay. I'll still link the playlist down below though. I was looking back on that playlist and realized that the last time this series was updated was half a year ago. I don't know where the time has gone, but I'm so sorry it's taken me this long to get back to our doggies. So let's not wait anymore and just dive into year 8 of our dog pack. Since Aspen has taken over the leadership of our pack, things seem to be looking up. They've settled into their new territory on the outskirts of an abandoned town far in the snowy mountains. Because of this, the pack has grown significantly, with puppies upon puppies. Literally endless puppies. My dream come true. Aspen is very pleased with how his pack is doing, and is feeling far more confident in his ability to lead than when he was first voted in as leader. He still has a small crush on Flint, his deputy, but he's decided to move on for reasons we'll see in a moment. Rumble has officially retired from his life as a guardian at Aspen's request. Rumble has been fighting so hard to keep the pack safe, and he's exhausted. Now, in this much safer territory, it's okay for the older dog to retire. He deserves some rest in his older years. In his retirement, he has finally accepted Radar's proposal to be mates. Rumble is still concerned that he may not be strong enough to protect his mate, but Radar insists that he doesn't need to be protected, he just wants to be loved. Rumble had refused Radar for literally years because he was scared to open himself up only to lose Radar in the end. Now, in this safer home, Rumble feels a little more certain that they can be happy together. Flint has had a very productive year. On top of being a fantastic deputy, he has also become a father. He and Ember realized their feelings for each other had reignited and have become mates once again. Last year, they got together only to break up horribly in the middle of the camp. Their relationship this time is going really well, and they've already had 2 litters of pups. Flint is beyond pleased with his pups and hopes for more in the future. Ember is not so sure it's wise to have more pups though. A dog of her size could have quite a few puppies per litter, but the fact she's only had 2 litters of 1 pup each is concerning. Either way, the pair's firstborn is Poppy, who was born not long after Flint and Ember became mates. She's named after Ember's late sister, who died all the way back in year 1 of this series. Poppy is a confident and clever young dog. She has her mother's tenacity and her father's happy-go-lucky spirit. I think she would have been really good friends with her grandmother Dude if the Jack Russell was still around. Poppy and her brother are both an interesting mix of mega mutt. She's technically a Jack Russell, Border Collie, Rhodesian Ridgeback, Pit Bull mix. I hope she looks somewhat like a mix of these dogs. Poppy's very good friends with the other young dogs, Felix and Rogue. If you guys recall, a young dog is actually a rank in this pack. From 6 months to about 2 years old, a dog is considered a young dog and is in training to join their chosen role amongst the pack. This is like the dog's version of an apprentice. This year, Amari returned. He was one of the dogs still lost to the 2 legs, but he managed to find his way back to the pack. And in the new territory, no less. It's quite the feat. Unfortunately, Pip and Salt both died while they were missing, so Amari is the last of the dogs the pack lost. He has returned and taken up his place as healer, but he doesn't seem the same. He can put on a brave face and pretend everything's alright, but something terrible happened this year. Amari did something he deeply regrets, but we'll get to that a little later. A new face has joined the pack named Safi. Safi is a Kelpie and once lived on a farm to the south. Her owners grew old and died, so she abandoned the farm rather than find new humans. She's enjoying pack life so far, even if she has a bit of a tail wound at the moment. Safi is a high-energy dog who would make a great teacher. She reminds me of a younger Ember, full of life and spunk. She's a very compassionate dog, but she can also be a bit sarcastic. This is a huge year for Oliver. His mentor Amari officially returned, but Oliver is still the head healer for the pack. It's a little awkward having Amari, the older dog, attempting to make decisions for the pack, but everyone just turns to Oliver for final confirmation. Despite the awkwardness with his responsibilities, Oliver has found comfort in his new mate Penelope and their small litter of 2 pups, Arya and Eva. Oliver is beyond thrilled to have the 3 of them at his side, and he knows his mother Lucy is overjoyed to have more grandpups. On top of all that joy, Oliver has also taught his apprentice thoroughly and believes she's ready to become a full healer. Roxy is still considered a young dog and is still just in training, but she has shown her skill at healing already. Roxy is incredibly smart and methodical. She's careful about how she applies salves and wraps wounds in leaves. She never makes mistakes, but she moves slowly. Oliver is certain she will make an invaluable member of his healing team, especially since Amari should be close to retiring. Roxy's just happy to have a place in the pack, even though she has a very weak leg. She never thought she'd be a useful pack member if she couldn't hunt or fight well. Look at her now. Penelope always wanted to be a mother, so when Oliver asked to be her mate and if they could have pups, she was over the moon. Penelope, although she is an avid hunter, has been spending all of her time with her 2 pups, Arya and Eva. They are truly the light that brightens up Penelope's world, and she could not be happier. She only wishes her fathers and her brother could be here to see her family grow. At least she still has her Aunt Ember and her 2 new cousins. She also has her sister Micah, who is nearly just as attentive to Arya and Eva as Penelope is. If you're confused by the family lines of this pack, don't worry, I understand. I made family trees at the end of the video to hopefully put into perspective what is going on. There's one tree that is particularly big, and I imagine will only keep getting bigger. But anyways, back to our Ibizenhound Scottish Terrier mix puppies. Arya and Eva are the 2 youngest pups in the pack, and are so gentle and quiet. I simply adore them. Arya is self-conscious, but loves to hunt little moss balls when nobody's watching. She's a lot like her mother in personality, but she's very dark in coloring like her dad, Oliver. She is quick to help and incredibly polite. She also adores her grandmother, Lucy. I'm so excited to see these 2 grow up because I imagine they're going to be very unique looking considering the mix they are. I'm not sure if they'll turn out smooth or rough-coated, or if they'll have pointy or semi-floppy ears. I'm just excited to see them in the future. Finally, Mabel has retired. She's gotten a fair bit older and has decided to step down as head guardian. She knows that age is catching up to her, and it's only a matter of time before her age causes her to slip up and make a mistake. Although she's not very pleased about it, she has chosen Willow as her successor for head guardian. Running dangerously low on guardians, but they have so few dogs capable of actually being guardians. Mabel still goes on long walks in the territory, watching for danger, but she's never alone. Young Darcy is always there to keep the older dog company. Darcy's very happy she wasn't chosen as head guardian. Although she would have accepted her role with pride, Darcy would much prefer the relaxing life of a den keeper. If she's not on patrol with the hunters, you can find her relaxing with Nova, the youngest den keeper. Ember, as I've mentioned, has made things official with Flint and has given birth twice now. She so desperately wishes that her mother and siblings could have been here to see her children and is troubled by their loss. Although she's told Flint that she's wary of more litters because she fears her body isn't up to the task of pregnancy, Ember is actually dealing with postpartum depression. She feels so mournful that her family couldn't be there to see her puppies, and feels like a weak mother because she's so mopey and lonesome. Her pups and Flint are none the wiser. Ember's pups, Poppy and Ash, think the world of their mother and don't seem to have any clue that she's dealing with some very complex grief. Ash is the second pup from Ember and Flint. He looks a lot like his father, and Ember is certain he will outgrow her in just a matter of months. At 4 months old, Ash is nearing time to become a young dog, and he's so excited to train and learn. He's a big fat know-it-all, so the more he knows, the more he can yap to his friends about it. Radar has officially become mates with Rumble, and he could not be happier. He gave the other dog as much space as he possibly could, and then when Rumble retired, Radar thought it had been long enough, so he should just ask again. He knows Rumble is just afraid to lose any more dogs he loves, and Radar can't fault him for that. He's just happy Rumble has finally agreed to let Radar in after so many years of trying. Next to Radar is a new face named Xena. This Basenji joined the pack with her 4 very young puppies. She lived in the abandoned town for a while, living off of scraps and hairs before she found out she was pregnant. The pup's father was unknown to Xena until they were born. It was fairly obvious their father was a Stabihun she met a while ago. I think that's how you say that. I've been practicing. Xena tried to live on her own with the pups, but when winter came, it was just way too difficult. She found the pack of dogs and joined immediately. She's much more of a loner type, but she can't argue with snuggling in a giant fluffy pile of dogs during these brutal winter months. Micah hasn't had a very eventful year, and she's feeling a little left behind. It seems like all her friends and everyone around her is pairing up with mates and having pups. She never really wanted pups, but should she want them? Should she try to find a mate? There aren't very many enticing single dogs in the pack, according to Micah. She's feeling a little lost and uncertain. In the meantime, she's happy to spend time with her new cousins Poppy and Ash, and her 2 nieces Arya and Eva. Don't worry, the family trees are coming. This is certainly one of the weirdest and most surprising couples I've ever seen. Piper and Sage have become mates. It's so shocking and out of the blue, but I'm very happy for them. They've even gone so far as to adopt a pair of puppies this year. They both make great mothers so far. Sage is an experienced mother, having Felix and Roxy to raise, and is a little bit of a stricter parent. Piper is more of a playmate with her pups and finds discipline to be unproductive. Despite their differences, Sage and Piper never fight. They both agree that diverse opinions are good for the development of young pups. Both girls are cunning, so I can see why they get along. They have sort of similar personalities, I guess. They're really cute together, even if this may be one of the weirder couples in the pack. It's definitely not the weirdest, though. We will get to the weirdest couple soon. Willow, our newly appointed head guardian, has become mates with Ren, the Italian Greyhound. They had their first litter of puppies this year, which contains 3 wolfhound mixes. Willow is very pleased with herself for continuing on the lineage of her mother. She and her sister were the only blood relatives of Chickpea left, and since Willow's sister is gay, it all came down to Willow to continue the bloodline. Our first pup is Fern, the only female. She's precious. This little brindle is sweet and a joy to be around. Technically, she is an Italian Greyhound, Pug, Irish Wolfhound Poodle mix. Is this mix weirder than Ember and Flint? Yeah, probably. Still, it's a fun mix to try and create. I try to be genetically accurate with all the coats of the puppies because I find dog coat color genetics endlessly fascinating. I think Fern will grow to be a bit smaller in size than her 2 brothers. I suppose she inherited her father's height. Bliss is Fern's grandmother and Ren's mother. She is so excited to have grandpuppies. She had sort of given up hope after all her pups died, except for Ren. He didn't seem like the fatherly type, but Bliss was so happy to have been proven wrong. She adores the pups and is often the one babysitting them, since Willow is the very important head guardian now. Willow is a career-focused girly, and she needs some help with those babies. The other 2 wolfhound pups are Bracken and Mulberry. These 2 are also both brindles and will be quite big dogs when they grow up. They certainly won't be Chickpea sized. Their grandmother is a full-blooded Irish wolfhound, and she's huge. These two will be big, but maybe not that big. Mulberry is the bully of the three pups. He's a bit naughty and doesn't listen to anyone, but he's very fascinated by herbs. With his personality, he would make a very unique healer. I can imagine a very snarky, borderline aggressive healer who just shrugs when his patients won't take their medicine. His brother Bracken is an impulsive ADHD mess. He genuinely never sits still and is impossible to get to focus on literally anything. He's going to be such a terror as a young dog. He gives his poor grandmother Bliss so much grief. Ren, their father, is quite happy with the little family he has. I think he's content with just this one litter, especially after Bracken. I don't think he's terribly keen on having more little tornadoes to look after. When the video's over, let me know in the comments which of the puppies is your favorite. I think we have a dozen puppies to choose from, so pick wisely. Next, we have a couple of young dogs in the pack. First, we have young Felix, who is Roxy, the healer's brother, and Sage's son. He has grown into quite the confident young hunter. He's a talented guy, but he doesn't get a big head about it. Felix is a super active dog and rarely sits still long enough to have a decent conversation. Despite that, he is fast friends with the other young dogs, Poppy, Rogue, and this new dog, Figgy Pudding. Yes, you heard that correctly. This Great Pyrenees is named Figgy Pudding. He's only a year old, but he's already a vengeful dog. He refuses to tell the pack where he came from or how he found them, but he seems nice. He's just an oversized pup at this point, so it's strange that he'd be so quick to hold a grudge. Figgy Pudding must have seen some things before making his way to the pack, and he's now incredibly untrusting of others. Next, we have three girls. Fiona, the terrier in the middle, is having a rough go of things. Spoiler alert, her mate Aurora died this year. She's next in the lineup. As you may or may not recall, Aurora and Fiona considered breaking up last year after Aurora brought home puppies for them to raise, against Fiona's wishes. Now, Fiona is a single mother to puppies she never even wanted. She's trying to do her best by the girls, but she's truly not made for motherhood. Sadly, Scout, one of the pups, died late in the year. She actually caught frostbite in the bitter winter and couldn't recover from the chill. The pack has been extremely cautious about protecting the smaller and shorter-coated dogs in the brutal months now. Her sister Rogue was distraught at the loss of her mother, Aurora, and her sister. The young Staffy is doing her best to put on a brave face day by day. She misses the two of them deeply, but she won't let grief cloud her mind. She knows Aurora and Scout would want her to live a life full of love and joy. She does her best to make them proud. As I mentioned, Aurora passed away this year to sickness. She caught yellow cough and died rather quickly. It was a dangerous strain of the illness, but it didn't stick around for long, thankfully. Another dog that died this year is Quarter Pounder. This is, of course, tragic, but what makes it even worse is the manner of her death. Quarter Pounder was pushed into an oncoming monster by Amari the healer. She was murdered. I don't know why on earth he would do something like that, especially after just now returning from being captured. He would have barely known Quarter Pounder, and I doubt she'd have done something to deserve her fate. I'm not sure if Amari is a little messed up after his time with Two Legs or what, but I'm so sad to see both of these girls go. I really liked them. Unfortunately, our time in the stars has not come to an end. Hazel and Milo have both passed away as well. Hazel also caught the yellow cough infection that killed Aurora. Like I said, it was a fast-moving and very dangerous strain of the virus, and it killed Hazel quickly. She is, of course, Sage's daughter and Felix and Roxy's sister. Luckily, she and Aurora were the only ones that ended up getting sick. Milo actually died of old age. He died peacefully in his sleep, surrounded by the pack he had grown to consider family. Although his own daughter Jenna wasn't there in the end, he was certain he'd be seeing her again very soon. Enough sadness now, let's move on to a couple new members and even more puppies. First, we're stopping to see Lucy, the den keeper, and her new mate, a coyote. Katsina has lingered around the edge of the pack for a couple years now. He was the one who first guided Lucy to the pack when she was pregnant and desperate for security. He never joined himself because, well, he's not a dog. Katsina doesn't feel the need for camaraderie like the dogs do, but he does feel the need for a family unit. Coyotes are incredibly social and family-oriented animals, and Katsina couldn't deny his feelings for Lucy any longer. If he wanted to be her mate, he'd join the pack of dogs for her. The pack doesn't mind him, even if he is a little strange. Even though she's quite small, Lucy has made a big show about everyone accepting Katsina, wholeheartedly. If she finds out anyone treated him poorly just because he's a coyote, they'll have a meeting with her teeth. The two are officially the weirdest couple in the pack, but they wouldn't have it any other way. Our other den keeper, Nova, has had her paws full with all the pups in the pack. Keeping the walls of the den strong and insulating has been quite the task, but one she thoroughly enjoys. Nova is very skilled with her paws and teeth, and can weave incredible structures to help keep the chill out in the frosty winter months. I've unintentionally drawn her with her little tongue out twice in a row now, and I think I'm making it canon that Nova has a permanent blep tongue, and she probably talks with a lisp. Her little shadow is the first of Xena, the Basenji's puppies. This little girl is named Ladybug, and her coat is the softest ever. She and her siblings are only 3 months old at the moment, so they're quite young, but they've been enjoying exploring out of the dens and playing in the snow. They don't mind the cold as much since once they're done playing, they get to huddle up in the den full of warm puppies. There's literally a dozen of them, so it's probably a very cozy den. Ladybug's 3 siblings include her 2 sisters, Cicada and Midge, and their big brother, Hopper. Technically, they're all from the same litter, but the 3 girls all ended up so much smaller than Hopper for some reason. From left to right, Cicada is a sweet little pup that can be a little picky. Some call her a princess, but she just says that she has standards. She's a little mature for her age. The middle pup, Midge, is actually the runt of the litter. Never sitting still and always in somebody's business, Midge is quite the big personality and a little puppy body. She's good friends with Bracken, the wolfhound of all pups. They're both equally as chaotic and find each other to be very entertaining. Finally, Hopper is the big bossy brother. He pushes his sisters around because he's bigger than them, but he's easily bullied by the other boys in the pack. He gets picked on by Mulberry, Bracken, and Ash, so he takes out his frustrations on his sisters. Two of the oldest dogs in the pack are Chickpea and Atlas. I'm actually so surprised that the 2 of them are still kicking. Atlas is one of the last founding members of the pack. He and Amari are technically the only 2 dogs that were there at the formation of the pack. Ember and Flint were also sort of foundational, but they came later on in the first year. I'm so surprised to see Atlas still out here, but I'm really glad. He's been such a consistently fantastic dog. Everyone respects him immensely. Chickpea is actually even older than Atlas and is quite old for such a huge dog. She did lose a daughter this year, but she's happy to see her newest grandpups, the Wolfhound trio. She's a little worried she won't be around long enough to really spend time with them, though. Finally, we have the 2 pups adopted by Piper and Sage. This is Hank and Dixie, a pair of corgi siblings. Dixie is a little know-it-all who thinks she should be in charge of everything. She's constantly arguing with Ash and Cicada, who also think they should be in charge of everything. She likes Mulberry though, because he has a crush on her, so he'll do whatever she says. Hank is far less opinionated than his sister. He gets along well with all the other puppies and doesn't have a mean bone in his body. Hank can be a little airheaded at times, and I genuinely think if a dog didn't like him, he'd have no idea. And that's all for year 8. My gosh, was that a lot of puppies. As promised, here are the family trees. Atlas is the father of Aspen, but they're the only living family for one another. Piper and Sage have a bit of a blended family. Sage had Roxy and Felix with another dog, but then adopted Hank and Dixie with Piper. The dashed lines mean adoption. Xena has a litter of little bugs. All the litters this year had sort of matching names so I could keep them straight with all these puppies. And finally, we have this beefy family tree. This doesn't even include the dogs that have died, like Ember's 4 other siblings, Willow's 2 brothers, Ren's 3 siblings, and so on. But these are all the dogs related to each other that are currently alive. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I really hope to update this series a little more often. I'm sorry for the long wait. Keep an eye out for more upcoming updates and December Christmas videos. And if you join me for any of those next videos, I'll see you then.